Hey there, we are a team of students composed of Hannah Arnett and Skyler Beld. This is Team Unite Us, and we hope you enjoy our project presentation. Before we get started, we do want to give a warning that our project focuses on race, so please be careful if you are sensitive to this topic. Team Unite Us is a student group composed of Hannah Arnett, a senior in web programming and design, and Skyler Beld, a senior in user experience design. Skyler's skills include in-depth researching and identifying insights to design a solution to a problem. He's contributed to projects for companies like HP and Omniviz. Hannah's skills include front-end development, where she designs and develops customer-facing digital products. She has experience creating websites and graphic designs for multiple organizations and developing emails for LendingTree, and she now wants to focus on web application development. Today, we will be talking about our senior capstone project, the work we have done so far, and what we plan on doing in the future. We can answer any questions, comments, and concerns at the conclusion of our presentation. Okay, so let's start off with a question. Do you know how many Black students are enrolled on campus? Is it 1,000? Maybe 10,000? Feel free to take a guess. There are actually less than 1,000 Black students enrolled at Purdue. With roughly 50,000 students, they make up less than 2% of the student body. In the past year or two, Purdue has become much more focused on diversity and inclusion on campus. The university set a goal to double the amount of Black students enrolled within the next 5 years. Keep in mind, that's still just about 2,000 Black students. Team Unite Us seeks to help Purdue achieve this goal through our senior capstone project. Our client for this project is Renee Thomas, the Associate Vice Provost for the Diversity and Inclusion Office. She will help guide us through the project so that our deliverables best align with what Purdue is looking for. Team Unite Us will regularly submit our work to Renee throughout the project for feedback and advice. We look forward to working with her next semester. Team Unite Us will focus on 3 deliverables next semester: researching and writing a case study, designing, developing, and testing a prototype to a website or web application, and we will give Purdue 3 recommendations based on our research insights that we think will help Purdue enroll more Black students in the future. So how can we as students help Purdue enroll more Black students? We believe that one problem with Purdue is a lack of community for Black students. There are so little students on campus that connecting with one another is difficult. Our goal is to help Purdue build an improved community for Black students to provide a more welcoming environment for them. We're hoping our deliverables will help us do this, especially the web application, which will be intended for students to download in the future. I will now hand this off to Skyler to talk about the rest of our project.
Thanks, Hannah. So let's talk about who are we designing for. As she mentioned before, we're working on the lack of African-American students enrolling at Purdue. And so our user group are African-American students or potential African-American students coming to, or thinking about coming to Purdue. So what is preventing the growth of the Black community on Purdue's campus? This is the top priority of Purdue and us as Team Unite Us. So we conducted interviews with 6 Black students as we were kind of constricted on, we had a little bit of a lack of access to students. But some of the insights that we did found were helpful in coming up with some great options for helping promote the growth of Black students on campus. So some of the insights that we collected from our interviews were students chose Purdue because of word of mouth. This either was like teachers in the classroom, grandparents, parents. They had students had difficulty knowing where to go for resources. An exciting moment when students also felt more excited when they saw other Black students on campus, which I think kind of signals that there is a lack of Black students on campus if other Black students are rarely seeing other people within their own race. students feel like they're being singled out for being Black within Purdue's whole community. And Purdue also has this kind of mirage around it where it seems kind of unreachable. So it kind of could also lead to a lack of a communal feel within Purdue or at Purdue. So this is a quote that we got from one of our interviews. And this person said, if you're someone who wants to get through college and get an education without worrying about associating with other Black people, then you find it right here. I thought, or like as a team, we thought this was very impactful and kind of a signal to a real problem that Purdue is facing right now. So unknowns, what kind of web app to create? So we have a couple of ideas that we came up with based on those insights from our interviews, but could change later due to the research that we plan on, research, testing, and evaluation that we plan on conducting next semester. So our concept that we are kind of focusing around or scoping down is an app that Black students can download on their phones as a resource to find Black-focused things within the Lafayette and West Lafayette community. This would be such as organizations, Greek lives, stores, churches, groups, hair salons, anything particular to Black culture in general. We also client approved, so it's more research is needed to determine if this idea will actually be helpful, as I discussed a little bit earlier. So how are we going to measure success and make sure our designs are valid and actually will help solve this problem? So as we go throughout the semester, we plan on getting ambient amounts of feedback from Arnett about how will our project help Purdue enroll more Black students and how we can determine that. She can help us with figuring out metrics and that kind of stuff. When we test our designs, we plan on testing them on current Black students. So these are the kind of things that we're going to be thinking about and looking for when we are testing. So does it have the potential to bring Black students together as a community? Is it easy to use? And is it attractive? So our next step would include research, which would be more initial research into the scoped down idea that we came up with this semester. At the beginning of the semester, we did some initial research into the Black community and the problems that they were having. And then next semester, we're really going in more depth about this community aspect, more research on that, how we can develop community within Purdue. And ways by doing that is including more Black students within our design process. So a co-design could be a possibility, or a focus group to really have those deep, rich understandings of what it's like for a Black student to be on Purdue's campus. Next step would be we'd also then go into sketching and ideation, which be like certain brainstorming activities, sketching, and then finally wireframes that will be eventually, that will be tested throughout the whole entire process. And then we'll be evaluating, which we could, some of the possibilities include A/B testing, which would be really good to use at the very beginning of our testing to determine where things could be placed within the visual design aspect and which design is better for the user. Concept testing, making sure that the user is understanding the full concept of the app and what it's meant there to be. And then usability testing, is there any problems with being able to just run through the app, get to where you need to go, and find certain things. So here's our production schedule. So for the first 2 weeks, we have a watered down or waterfall type method going on here. We chose that method because there is only 2 of us within this team. And so this is going to be the easiest for us to work with. So for the first 2 weeks, We're going to do some preliminary research. Then we'll end up going into more deep dived research, such as co-design or a focus group or anything where we're actually connecting more with Black students. And that will run all the way up to week 7. And simultaneously, we're going to start development halfway through that research process. So we can get some sketching and ideation and more like prototypes developed so we can eventually evaluate those, test them out, and make sure they actually do what we're trying to do within Purdue's campus. And then throughout the whole entire semester, next semester, we plan on focusing on the presentation as well as documentation. And our documentation will be treated more like our case study, which was one of our final deliverables for the end of next semester. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions?